Hi everyone listening on Spotify and watching on YouTube. Today is another series in Masters of the Craft, which is obviously top brokers and top people in the mortgage and insurance market, just talking about kind of their journey, any hints and tips they can give to people. Today we have Dave Corbett, who is the Managing Director of Protection First. I don't know job title actually, Dave, I just made that up, but is the owner of Protection First. Obviously expert in life insurance, well known in the industry. So thanks for coming on first, Dave.
My pleasure, mate. It's lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too. So let's start. Talk to me about the journey up to Protection First, not from when you were born. Just go from your financial services career. Talk to us about how you got to this place.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting journey. I think it started really at Primus because I cottoned on to Rich Coulson there, who I don't know if you've met Rich or spoken to Rich. I know you're close with Lee and
Lee very highly of him.
Yeah, oh, amazing. So in terms of kind of sales skills, attitude, and it's an attitude-based kind of industry, I think, with protection, more so than mortgages. I just cottoned on to, if I listen to him, I'm going to be all right at protection. I haven't done much before that, really, and that was only probably 7 years ago. I'd sold a bit when I was a mortgage broker and whatever else, but never really got under the skin of it. 3.5, 4 years with him, doing protection excellence face-to-face before lockdown, traveling to London, having 50 people in a room, kind of getting it all a little bit pumped up, and the chap's got a lot of energy. And it was really about just the opportunity that young people had to write a lot of business, really, and protect the client and the risk of not protecting. So on the back of that, I've loved it since. My wife had breast cancer in 2014. So if anyone's listened to any of the podcasts I've been on, I don't tend to bang on about it. It's not like I'm using it to kind of sell.
No, you know, relevant.
But you know, well, she does accuse me of that occasionally. Wheeling it out again to get that. We had a payout. Again, that was before I joined Primus, which really kind of pushed it forward to me as well. And then really just running it and helping brokers to develop their business, mortgage brokers to build that side through the training I'd learned through Rich Coulson, who's the best in the business, and then just kind of developing it myself. John Stones, who's the MD of Mortgage First and also Protection First, because it's a trading style. I'm here as a protection broker to build something, you know, and there's a gap here. We need to protect our clients more. Everyone recognizes that, but we're a lead heavy business. And as such, you know, I need to come in here to help bridge that gap, because we'll talk about it, I'm sure, today, but it really is a skill in itself. And mortgage and protection together, to me, is not a marriage.
Two completely different skill sets.
Oh, mate.
One is like being a wedding photographer and a funeral photographer. You know what I mean? One is you're giving someone this great joy of this house, and then you got to talk about their death. I just think so. I do understand the complexities of why people aren't great at doing both. Funny enough, I was talking to you today, but in absolute coincidence, talking to you both at the same time, and we were talking about the same thing. Specifically, why I think this is important to get out now, because as the market gets more challenging, and all of a sudden people do have to start looking at how they're utilising every lead, which they should have been doing in the first place. But I kind of came up with John, right, that in 2009, 2010, when everyone was scratching stuff back together again, everyone did it. Everyone worked in it, and it was all about the customer, because it was about not having enough money, not having enough leads. And everyone said, this is the way I'm going to work forever. Got to 2011, 2012, a little bit later, all of a sudden mortgages came back, and it's like you completely forgot about the way we worked. And I understand people are busy, but that kind of shocks me that happened, that we forget really quickly that protection is such an important part of the process. Talk to me about how you kind of go on. Sorry.
No, mate, I'm just thinking, you know, I'm to think about this podcast earlier on today and whatever else, and there's a generation now, and this isn't their fault, I don't think. They've joined the industry in and around lockdown, had a month of it being shocking in lockdown before Rishi Sunak came in and rescued us, and then it's just been like pots of gold everywhere, phone ringing in, you know. And that's not reality. And because of that, it's just been a case of next, mortgage, and they're brilliant mortgage brokers. But whether they've had to go through that process, I don't know. there's a lot of existing brokers who are ex Dunbar and whatever else. They've got a history, City Financial Partners and whatever else, who have always had to do it and had to sell it and learn those skills. A lot of those skills are still very, very relevant because it still needs selling. But I think there's a huge disconnect there, and it's going to sort out the men from the boys the next couple of years, that's for sure.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't wish it on anyone, but at the same time, like I was saying to lots of brokers at the moment, we've just got to work harder for the same amount of money. You know, that's the case. We've got to work harder. We've got to make sure we maintain those relationships, and you know, like your job, we've got to make sure people are selling protection, any kind of referrals they can get. You know, just get busy. And I do think we've all had it very easy for so long. I'd like to think the growth of our recruitment company was down to my amazing genius, but in fact, what it is we've needed lots of mortgage brokers because they've been really busy.
Yeah.
So talk to me about what you do for the brokers at the moment, in not just education, but actually, you know, as far down as taking kind of leads from them and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so probably 6 weeks in now, I say, in terms of like really going for it, all the process and signing off and whatever else has been done. So that 6 weeks has been pretty fantastic in terms of getting brokers to pass me all manner of stuff. A lot of it is education without sounding patronizing. So it's been about simplifying the trust side, really simplifying it. We, as an industry, we are brilliant at overcomplicating it and enhanced and children's and this, that, and the other, and serious versus critical. And it's a bloody nightmare for us, let alone clients. So I've been trying to simplify it as much as possible with the mortgage first brokers to allow them to spot opportunities, let them know what we can do. And in that 6 weeks, I mean, we've had, you know, BMI is nearly 50, where we've managed to, it hasn't happened yet, but there's a medical going on. We've got.
Not mine, is it?
Yeah, just going to say it's not mine either. Yeah, that's aspirational for me, and and we've had cancer remission, where again it's gone to medical. 6 weeks in, I know 6 months time we'll have a lot more conditions where we've been able to cover them, and it's just letting people know that that's available by simplifying it rather than overcomplicating it. We're doing a lot of CI expert reviews on existing cover. We're doing a lot of relevant life stuff so that people can get paid out of the business rather than all of that stuff that's on the fringe.
Everyone knew that, because I'm obviously surrounded by brokers, insurance brokers, mortgage brokers every day. So it's again, I talk to the networks, and I'm always like, I just assumed people knew it, but it's amazing what people don't know. Just even that, like my life insurance goes through my business because it saves me, you know, I don't pay tax on it, etc. I suppose for you, you've got a big education problem, not only speaking to brokers, but the general public don't really get it. We understand that if we die, someone gets a lump sum. That's the basic life insurance. But like you've got quite a steep hill to walk though to educate everyone.
It's a very, very tricky kind of bridge to cross, this one, and I don't know how we master it. Well, I kind of do, and it's just about perseverance. In my head now, I am happy if this whiteboard behind me with my current clients that I'm working on, if I get to a point where they say no, and I've challenged that and they still say no, and I've covered that off from a compliance perspective in terms of de-risking the business, fine. I can't do anymore. I've done as much as I can. I'll learn from it to try and change my terminology for them to understand the risk. But it's a really, really fine balance.
If someone says no, sorry to jump in, Dave. If someone says no, and they're drinking, and they drink at Starbucks every day, is it an education? You've got kids, you know what I mean? We've got kids, and it just seems like you want to throw people a bit. Like, I was fine. Like, you're not going to die, or you're not going to get cancer. Like, it's all going to happen to all of us.
So a 28-year-old from the north who, well, that's relevant, but probably is. But who, Superman, never, you know, nothing's going to happen to me, and it's like great. And you just think, you have this feeling, you think, oh God, you know, or a couple who are buying a house and they're not married and they both smoke and this, that, and the other, and you kind of go and just have that foresight. Now, you know what me and you are like, and whoever else people have, you're younger than me, obviously, but the pennies drop quite late in life sometimes, and sometimes you have to just go, look, I've said what I'm going to say. Having said that, I'll have a no with a client, and I'll sit there at home, and my wife will go, "Why are you in a mood again?" And I'll say, I've got to go at them again. I've got to have another go here, because I believe in it so much.
I think it's genuine you care. There's not like it's not the pounds and pence. It's caring about someone, because and you are going to hear horror stories as much as you're going to hear some wonderful stories of people being paid out. So and the payout's high. I don't really understand the objection. I think it's quite a British thing as well not to have insurance, because other countries have everyone has it. Like it's a completely normal thing. And then
we hate being sold to. We hate being sold to, and we'll immediately switch off. We're not really that. Our personality is such as a collective, and I know this is wide kind of stereotypes, but we're pretty laissez-faire. We're kind of like, I'll sod it, British sense of humour, stiff upper lip, balls to it, we'll be all right. And we're battling that all the time, because we'll go to the pub, and I've done quite a few posts recently where I'm trying to challenge what people have to give up, and it's just about priorities. That's all it is. Danny, who I used to work with the other day, said, bloody hell, people spend 150 quid on fireworks on one night and then moan because I've asked them for 18 quid for live cover.
There's always something relevant, isn't there? There's always like, when you give something up, you can say, well, you spend on this. Like you just said, then it's priorities, but prioritizing your family, not going skint if you kick the bucket, it's got to be pretty high up there.
What I can't understand is a guy or lady who contacts me, I don't contact them, and then I say, this is what you need, and then I phone them up on a Friday afternoon. It's like I've peed them off. I've stuck my finger in the eye, and I kind of go, "What? Okay, you didn't have to call me, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on, help me out." And then I have to say, "Come on, mate, let's get this done. I need 15 minutes off you on a Saturday. Just give us a bell. Let's get it done. Come on." And I don't think I'm pushing it too far ever with them.
I think obviously you've got a duty. Same as brokers have got a duty to, haven't they? I mean, a genuine duty. I think there's going to be a point where, there's going to be some repercussions for people not doing it. We don't tend to see those as yet, but I think that's got to happen, isn't it? Because you've genuinely got a genuine duty.
Do you know what's around the corner with that?
What's that?
With the FCA? Do you know what's coming?
Yeah. So not fully.
Well, I think with the consumer duty thing, which will get delayed, and it might be 2025 before it comes in, but good networks are putting those protocols in place already. Essentially, if you boil it down to its bare bones, if you're not recommending income protection or income-based protection around a client where you're saddling them with debts, then that client is going to be treated as a vulnerable client and will be able to sue your ass off. Full stop. Job done.
It is funny how they're flipping this out. You become vulnerable. As soon as you become not financially smart enough to work out you need to protect yourself, you're then vulnerable. It's a little bit like the guys who got scammed on the pensions, and then they're trying to get the original pension holders for it. They're saying, well, as soon as that guy told you he wants to take out his pension because he's going to make 10 times it somewhere else, instantly becomes vulnerable because he clearly can't do it. So it's funny how they're flipping the vulnerable as to, look, they don't get it, so it's your fault. But
it always stops at the advisor. I mean, it always has. Networks that are now defunct and gone have rated cases 10 out of 10 and then gone back 3 years later and said, well, that's a 1 out of 10, and retrospectively fined I mean, that's been going on since day dot. It's like being married, isn't it? Telling the rules and life is simple. It's like it's just being a broker. Kind of those rules change, and the regulator can retrospectively kick the life out of you at any particular point. But this is the turning point for protection in the next year and a half. And you know what you have to do to get over it? Speak to your clients and make sure that you're protecting them. That's it.
Yeah, people don't know about it. You go,
and make some money. I mean, it's like, all right.
Yeah. That's the other thing, isn't it? You do actually get paid for it. It's not like I know it's good to do it, it's duty of care, but also you make money. Like, and we don't all do it for the love of the game. Actually, it's nice to make money at the end of it. It's hard to take the objections from brokers when they go, and you make cash.
And the clawback argument, I've never got my head around. It's like, okay, so
it's not a debt, then put it away.
So I'm gonna sell something and advise a client and do the right thing by that client. The provider is going to pay me up front and put the money in my bank and all I've got to do is keep that cover on for 4 years. But it's in my bank, not theirs. So I've got money in my business to where's the risk unless you're just selling a load of crap? Where's
sell
the
crap
risk?
and then spend the money. That's the risk, is it? And there's so many of them out there. There's so many of those contact centres who who have to double up every year because we're losing 50% in clawback. I know people that have 99% retention rates. You're like, who've been selling for years and years. I think it's crazy that. But you're right. That is an excuse because I also feel like that's an education where you've heard it from someone else, maybe someone that you figure is an authority. Well, because I hear young brokers say it to me, and they're like, "I don't want to sell life insurance because I don't want the debt." And I'm like, I'm not in a position of authority to explain that to you. I'm in recruitment, but it sounds moronic because you could still protect them and save that money. You can make the interest on it. You know, you don't. It's like it was not worth it because I don't want the debt.
There's a counter argument which is kind of burrowing a hole into my head here, which is the kind of recurring income into a business versus saleable value of a business. And I get that to a degree. No one's buying a 1 or 2 man mortgage brokerage anyway, ever. No. In my opinion, never going to happen. They're never going to buy you because they're your clients. They deal with you. When you scale, somebody, Pivotal Growth, whoever's out there are going to buy firms, and they do, and they are making people millionaires, which is fantastic. The likes of a 1 or 2, 3 man firm, it's very, very likely everyone's going to buy you or get value out of buying you because your clients are going to follow you, and you're going to set up anywhere when you run out of money. And it's just so why take the money? Just take the money.
What about not taking it or taking it on the drip, brother? Is that an option for people? Obviously, if it's not a financial problem for you, if it's not your only income, then that's obviously a plan that people could do. Or do you?
Yeah. So I fully understand that model, but because it's hard to sell, you need to get paid for that.
Yeah.
You know, it's risk and reward, isn't it? You know, my job here selling protection. I'm not trying to say that the 30 brokers I work with aren't like brilliant what they do and they work hard and they have challenges and I don't want to pay you a fee and whatever else their world they have to deal with, which is 10 times, 50 times the products that basically and whatever else. So they have their own challenges, but mine is I'm trying to influence and sell to people that really want me to bugger off and get off the phone a lot of the time, you know, and I spoke to a lady this afternoon who was adamant she wanted to take out the £325,000 of £650,000 of life cover for 10 years for inheritance tax purposes, and she didn't want to cover anything else. And I'm saying to her, it's just not. That's not what you need. It's, you're self-employed. You've got all this stuff going on. I only want to talk about that, Dave. If you want to talk about anything else, like it's not happening. I said, okay. So, but you're self-employed. You've got a property that's unencumbered. You've got all this stuff going on. You need all this stuff. A lot of it's not with me. You need to speak to your tax advisor and talk about go to see a wealth advisor and speak to our estate planners. Me selling you a 10-year life insurance policy where your inheritance tax is still like, what are we doing here? I just want to take it out, Dave. And I'm like, geez. So all of this kind of stuff is going on all the time. I mean, look, I've had a lot of coffee today, but it's I love it, by the way. It's just every
you do. And I love, that's why I wanted you to come on as well, because you're so passionate about it. And I think it's pointless trying to push brokers if someone that's half-asses it. Like, you love it, and you can see that when you sell it.
So I'm thinking about a couple on the way here on my electric moped, thinking when it's got less than 50% charge, it really is like 4 miles an hour. It's embarrassing, but it's really embarrassing. But I was just thinking about on the way here, thinking I've got to do a why didn't this work list for the quiet times over Christmas. And I'm going to email them. I'm going to say to them all, why didn't we do any business here? Why have I still left you unprotected? What have I done here? You know, because you need it more than you ever will know. And I'm going to do that because I need to. Mate, I had 148 grand under my account from Friends Life from critical illness at a time when my wife had breast cancer and my kids were 6 and 8. And I mean, the difference that made in a time when actually we all had quite a pot at that time. Now we're all struggling, and cost of living, which is nonsense anyway, but well, it's not, but it's an excuse a lot of the time. You know, it's they need it. I'm just going to keep going.
I know what you mean, and they do. So I tell you what is interesting. Talk to me about. So obviously that is the consumer that needs it. We know that.
Yeah.
We know the broker needs to sell it. If the broker doesn't sell it, they come to you. Talk to me about the benefits of brokers using a protection specific consultant as opposed to chucking on a bit of life insurance at the end of their mortgage.
Different voice is huge.
Yeah.
So I think a different voice and different energy, because a client journey with a broker might be 150, 200 days, you know, of back and forth, real lifting up the skirt, having a proper kind of just inside leg measurement that works. You know, it's pretty invasive process.
Yeah. It's talking about people, medical information.
Well, this is the mortgage side. This is the financial side. So you go in really deep, bank statements, whatever else, to tag on a protection sale and shift of tone into that process. I mean, anyone that does it is very skilled to do both. And some of our brokers are converting at 75, 80% within Mortgage First, which is amazing, and they're brilliant. And I've spoke to a few of them today and said you should be really proud of that, because it is superb. It's a really hard job because of that change in tone. So I might speak to someone and say, you've been dealing with Greg. Greg does the mortgages, but he's saddled you with a load of debt. So I'm now here to make sure that he hasn't stitched you up, you know? And I won't use that language, Greg, whoever you are.
Yeah.
No, we have got a Greg, sorry, Greg. But, you know, I'll say, look, you've been saddled with a load of debt now. I have a little joke with them and say, let's make sure you keep the house, you know, you keep your home, and that we look after everything and we give you that foundation. And the other thing while I'm on it is budget. I've learned this quite recently. Never talk about budget. Client's going to tell me what they're going to pay at some point along the line. So why do I assume that and get hung up on it?
We always start with that. No one knows what they're going to pay until they don't even know you spend 1,500 quid a year at Starbucks because you buy 2 coffees a day. You don't know that, do you?
The Stonebridge process I love, because Stonebridge essentially say, I'm going to give you my recommendation, whatever you want. So I'm going to say you need to be spending 480 quid a month, and this is the perfect protection portfolio, which is the way I like to work anyway. And then you have the chat with the client, and then I speak to them about what potentially I would pull out of that if I really had to. And then you get to the point, you know. And if they ask me what they should be spending, I say 200 quid a month. And they go, what? I said, well, we're spending 200 quid a month. I spend 450, 500 quid a month, you know. And because I've had a payout from it, I understand what it's like. Christ. Have a look at me in a hotel mirror. I'm going to get a payout. Do you know what I mean? It's
like. Do they buy into that then? Is that an easier buy when you go, right, like you just said then, budget? Because that's always kind of the talk, isn't it? What can you afford? And they go, oh, £16 a month. And then you go, well, that'll get you X amount. They go, well, that'll do. But actually, you start from the top and actually get them what they want.
Always. Like, I'm always happy to commission sacrifice. If someone says, so an example of this would be, it's come back at 103 quid, and they go, it's just a lot of money, Dave. And I'm like, okay, well, let's have a look around, see if we can do anything else. And then I might just say, you know what, I reckon I can get this down to 70, 80 quid. Would you be happy? Yeah, how'd you do that? Well, don't worry about it. It's coming out of our end, not yours. Let's just get it done, all right? But keep it on the books. It's there for life. Help me out here and give me some referrals. You know, and then they're your mate. I would do that relatively often, you know, rather it was on the books.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, they genuinely can't afford it. But do you get that? Do you get? I suppose at the moment it's a little bit different because people are more conscious about what they're spending, but at the same time, it is no different. I think people still waste money.
So I know what I waste in terms of my own personal kind of, and my wife who's brilliant at it. You know, it's not probably a bad time for this. But I know what goes out of my account, and I put a post on about the other day. You know, I'm betting, if my wife's listening, £1 a week on Sky Bet. You know, so exactly. So 20 quid a weekend on Sky Bet, whatever it's called, and then they tempt you on the Monday for an in-play bet, and then you're away again. So that's exactly. So that's 20 quid. So that's 100 quid a month. Then I've, you know, Nando's for our family of 4, my lads 18 and 17 is 200 quid a month, 150 quid a month, because it's 70 quid a pop, and we have twice. We have a takeaway every Friday. With that, you know, because my lads, one of my lads is autistic and like his routine. He has his takeaway on a Friday. We probably have HelloFresh will start on a Saturday. Will be delivered on a Saturday. Couple of beers, a few bottles of wine a week. That's 500 quid without even thinking about it. And we're haggling over 34 versus 32 quid. And I talk to people a lot about that. And I think historically we've gone through bank accounts and said, well, if you drop that and you do that, and there's online calculators you can use.
People don't know being told what to drop, do they? I think that's an issue that you've got to come up against. Like, you're spending too much on this. So they don't need their life advisor. They want their life insurance advisor.
Nuts.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Also, we kind of touched on it then, but so if someone gives you the protection rather than do it themselves,
yeah,
obviously the benefit is your knowledge.
Yes.
And your retention rate is higher. And obviously, people probably spend more money with you than they would with their broker.
Double.
So, double. Right, so that's statistically right. And if someone's spending double with you, surely brokers who are around that kind of anywhere between 0 to 50% conversion rate must think it's a no-brainer to give it up because he's going to double it. So work out your money. You're getting the same money if you're at the top end of that for doing no work at all. Is that right? I mean, am I oversimplifying it, or is?
No, I think you're right. I think in my head, a critical illness is the one that everybody needs.
Yeah.
Full stop for me. Obviously, it's not full stop because there's income and whatever else, and we could argue all day about that. For me, and it's personal, that critical illness is the one. And I think that really works when you're talking to a client, because I say to them, look at the prices there. That's 15 quid for your life cover. That's 96 for your critical illness. And your income protection is 13 quid because you've got a year's pay because you're whatever else.
Yeah.
The one that's the most expensive, and this is just life, is the one that you need because it's the one that will pay out or is most likely to pay out. And that's why they want their money off you. Have a think about that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not stupid insurance companies, are they? They're not.
That, you know, it's risk and reward, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's risk and reward. You know, they want to help you and they want to get cover on, but they're mitigating risk. I'm not too fond of the kind of what do we talk about here? The cost of living crisis in relation to protection. In relation to life, it's a kicker, and there's lots of people in the shtuck. But
did those people have life insurance already? You know, if you're picking between food and heat, because I think, I don't know, it's difficult. It's difficult to go. You don't know people's circumstances, but you're right. I think we could give up things before we give up protecting our families. I think that's the
rub. You know, we just don't look at it as a necessity in this country. It's seen as a luxury. And this isn't luxury. This is maintaining a lesser standard of living at best.
Yeah,
that's what you're getting. You're maintaining a lesser standard of living at best. That's it. You know.
Yeah.
Or you take a punt. You know, roll the dice.
Roll the dice, see what happens. 1 in 3 if you do all right. Actually, no, none of us survive. That is really useful. I've taken up loads of your time, but
sorry, mate, I'm rattling on. I do.
No,
rattle
not
on,
at all.
I apologise.
I genuinely think it's useful because I do think that people don't. If we spent 2 hours of this and somebody protected their customers better, then it's time well spent. I just think that it makes complete sense. I think kind of pointing it back towards the brokers. And I ask this to everyone, if you're just starting out and you're fresh and you don't really know the ins and outs of everything, what would be the number one kind of tip you would give to people who are just kind of coming into the industry?
So the one thing you need to do is go and find a mentor who's willing to share, because the best brokers and advisors will always share. They'll always share because that's in their nature. If someone came to you and knocked on your door, you'd share, and so would I. And you follow them until the nth degree. Eventually, you start working with their clients, and then you build and grow. And that's the best way to do it. And I could reel off a dozen millionaires now in the industry who did that.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's about the honeypot. If you've got leads, you've got a business. If you've got no incoming, you've got, I don't know, you're a broker, you know, you're an order taker. But once you've got that lead stream, you're away.
Yeah, brilliant. That's really good advice. If people want to get hold of you, want to talk to you, Dave, about this kind of thing, how do they get hold of you?
So LinkedIn, or my email is on my Instagram, and also my TikTok, which I got a lead from the other day, which is quite interesting. No, it's all that about, just asking about them.
It's the future.
But so yeah, just through social media, contact me.
Yeah.
And yeah, just love to speak to any brokers. If you ever want to refer business in, and we'll take the risk off your hands and look after your clients, whatever you want to do.
Amazing. Obviously, all your socials will be on as we get this posted out. But thank you to everyone listening on Spotify and watching on YouTube. As Dave just said, then if you've got any questions, I'll put all his socials on the system. And also, if you want to get in contact, you're more than welcome to contact me, and I'll pass it on to Dave. He'll be more than happy to help with anyone. In the meantime, Dave, really appreciate your time. I'll get my words out this evening. Really appreciate your time, and genuinely, I hope that does add some value to some brokers that can learn from it. So thank you very much, Dave.
Pleasure, mate.
Cheers, mate.